We have the movies to review. We have entertainment to discuss. We have all things Culture Blaster to get to. So let's bring him in without further ado. It is Michael Snyder, everybody, and I will tell you right now, he comes and goes on a rainbow. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, that seems a little more like a roller coaster, Kim, but I love the gesture. I love it.
I guess I should make a rainbow like this, not like this, right?
No, it's all good. Hey, Hanukkah is over, and I'm relieved that there's been a minimum of house fires from flaming menorahs. That's a good thing.
Yes, it
And
is.
now, on to the Yule logs. In other words, keep your extinguishers handy. Wait. I have a Christmas riddle for you. Are you ready?
Okay, here, hit me.
Why does Santa try to avoid Mrs. Claus a few days every month?
Why is that?
Because she has Krampus. Oh, it's Krampus, the Santa doppelganger, the evil Santa. Oh my God!
I'm with you.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. No. Want to talk movies?
Let's talk movies. Although I will say that since you did bring up the Yule logs, and we're talking entertainment, one of my guilty pleasures is that on Netflix, they have that Yule log thing where it's just a crackling fire. That's all it is. You could just set your TV channel to the crackling fire. You ever do that?
I don't, but I do know about them, and I've seen them. But I think it's kind of cool. I guess if you don't pay your gas bill, your flaming gas log will go out, and if you don't pay your Netflix account,
that's right.
No Yule log for you, baby.
That's right. All right, let's get to the movies because it's a big movie weekend. This long-awaited Maestro comes out. Is that where you want to start?
Yeah, I think I will. Although a bit too episodic as its narrative kind of hopscotches through the years, Maestro, a slice of biopic about the renowned orchestra conductor and acclaimed American composer Leonard Bernstein, is replete with wonderful scenes, art direction, and exquisite acting by its principals. And those principals are the movie's director and co-screenwriter Bradley Cooper as Bernstein, and Carey Mulligan as Bernstein's staunch wife Felicia. It's often thrilling to watch and ultimately a triumph for all involved, even if, again, there's something about the structure that I find a little off-putting. The chatter about Cooper's prosthetic nose as Bernstein that preceded the release of the film and the casting of a non-Jew as the decidedly Jewish Bernstein is bull. The makeup is seamless, it's flawless, and not a distraction. And as for Cooper in the role, let's just call it non-traditional casting, the term given when gender and race are ignored in favor of the best actor for a particular role. This was a passion project for Cooper, and on that front, he delivers. Insofar as the movie tries to cover significant aspects of Bernstein's life and career in the latter half of the 20th century, we don't see or hear or learn much about his childhood or upbringing, which is another, mark against it in my book. But, what do you want, a 3-hour movie, a 4-hour movie? Anyway, after a short prologue with an older Lenny, we catch up with him as a young man on the day that he gets his big break as a conductor for the New York Philharmonic. Here, I will note that the scene begins with him waking up in bed with a handsome fellow in his age bracket. But soon thereafter, Bernstein meets and falls for actress Felicia Montealegre, who he would go on to marry. They had 3 children and lived a life of elegance in New York City as he became renowned for his Broadway musical scores to On the Town, and especially my favorite American musical, West Side Story. I believe his overture to West Side Story is one of my absolute top 10 pieces of music of all time, counting rock stuff, classical, jazz, whatever. Anyway, the guy
was he gay? Is that what they're saying? Or did he just love people depending on who they are, not their gender?
He was definitely bisexual.
Okay.
This is the guy who became America's favorite classical conductor via hosting the televised Young People's concerts.
Yeah.
He couldn't come out and say, yeah, sure, I love women, I love men.
Yeah.
Before and throughout his marriage to Felicia, Bernstein carried on affairs with men, which she apparently knew about. And over the course of Maestro, we watched Bernstein's ascent to fame and public adoration, as the push and pull of his marriage to Felicia and his, let's call them extracurricular activities, generate conflict and considerable angst. Exquisitely portrayed by Cooper, and even more so by Mulligan, whose ability to show the pain bubbling under an often serene exterior, it's a wonder to behold. And meanwhile, Cooper brings truth to Bernstein's swings between compulsion and contrition in private moments, while in the scenes involving his conducting and composing, suggesting his genius. There's supporting work by Matt Bomer as a significant male love in Lenny's life, Maya Hawke, the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, and a good actress as the Bernstein's eldest child. And whoa, Sarah Silverman as Lenny's supportive sister, and she's quite good, and
Really?
not at all the boundary pushing comedian that she is in real life. It's acting. Yeah, it's in select theaters, and it's streaming on Netflix as of next Wednesday. So you can sit home and watch and then make a decision on your own as to whether you think it works or not. I just thought there are so many pluses in the film in terms of performance and individual scenes that I recommend the film.
Okay, cool. I was reading an article by his that interviewed his children regarding the whole nose issue, and they said they had no problem with it, and they were sure their dad wouldn't have had an issue with it either.
The makeup is fantastic. It's the guy who did Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour, which was so real, it was shocking. And this guy is he's a magician, and he does a beautiful job with Cooper.
Wow. Let's talk about Wonka. How weird is it? Because I'm getting used to every time they make a Wonka, it's weirder and weirder.
Well, there have been two major versions of Roald Dahl's tale, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We'll address that here. An obvious question arose prior to me seeing Wonka, which is a new movie prequel to the beloved and perfectly droll Roald Dahl story, and accordingly, a prequel to the two movies that Dahl's book inspired. And the question that arose was, why, other than a cash grab, should anybody bother to tell the origin of the clever, manipulative, and magical chocolatier Willy Wonka, who was played previously by Gene Wilder, and then most recently by Johnny Depp, and I believe, in a lesser version of the story done by Tim Burton. I mean, Willy is so enigmatic, especially Wilder's Willy, who is kind of this charmingly creepy combo of jocular and sinister. So despite going into the screening of Wonka with a chip on my shoulder, a chocolate chip, that is, I walked out with a big smile on my face. It may sound like I'm damning Wonka with faint praise, but I felt like it was so much better than it had any right to be, considering its conception. And there are reasons. Starting with its director, Paul King, who helmed the two absolutely delightful Paddington Bear movies. I don't know if you've seen those with your family.
Trust me, I have. Yeah.
And they are really good.
Yeah.
And it also, King's Wonka co-screenwriter, Simon Farnaby, helped to create the witty and engaging UK sitcom Ghosts, which spawned the popular American version of the show. And then there's the enthusiastic cast led by Timothée Chalamet as the, dare I say, lovable 20-something Willy. And it's also chock full of notable comedic talents, including Oscar winner Olivia Colman. Yep, she started out in comedy. Keegan-Michael Key from Key and Peele. Rowan Mr. Bean Atkinson. Sally Hawkins. Matt Lucas. Patterson Joseph. Jim Carter, who was on Downton Abbey and so gruff and lovable there. And here he's kind of, perfectly cast as a similar type guy. And Farnaby himself and a few other members of the Ghosts ensemble cast. And here's another whoa. Hugh Grant plays an Oompa Loompa, the first Oompa Loompa that Willy ever meets. And so from the plot of Wonka, one might assume that Willy's experiences as a fledgling confectioner gave him the sometimes nasty edge of the older Wonka. I mean, he's abused by his landlady and her lover. He's undermined by a three-man London consortium of candy makers and tormented by local police who are on the take. But even when the situation turns dark for Willie, there's still kind of a sweetness to the proceedings. And the tunes, by the way, a few originals and some echoes of the classic Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory favorites, Pure Imagination and the Oompa Loompa song, are pretty sweet too. For comparison's sake, I like those songs better than the original numbers in the recent Disney film Wish.
Wow.
So,
okay.
It could never replace the Gene Wilder movie in our hearts. It's not the Willy Wonka film we wanted or needed, but Wonka is very good holiday fare with some laughs and cheer in store for viewers. It's in theaters.
Can we talk American Fiction?
We can. And now we're talking about a movie I like way better than either of those films that we just discussed. The debut feature film from director-screenwriter Cord Jefferson, American Fiction, is a spiky, funny, and savvy gander at the impact of race, social status, and virally charged public perception in the digital world that has the extra advantage of having Jeffrey Wright in the lead role. Jeffrey Wright from Westworld. I mean, I could rattle off a bunch of credits, but he's fantastic. I will say he's Felix Leiter, this CIA agent and buddy to James Bond and the Daniel Craig movies, for those of you who are having a tough time figuring out who Jeffrey Wright is. Okay, so here's the premise. A gritty novel written in vernacular and purportedly inspired by the real-life inner-city experiences of the author is in fact the work of Monk, an intellectually evolved but self-important Black scholar and writer from a well-to-do and somewhat dysfunctional family. Monk, of course, is played by Wright. So, embittered by a forced hiatus at the university where he teaches and frustrated by his inability to deliver an acceptable manuscript of his typically high-toned fiction, his agent is not happy with what he's getting, nor is the publisher. Monk cranks out this faux ghetto memoir. Although done as a contemptuous joke, the book actually gains notoriety by accident and becomes a sensation, throwing Monk into an, I guess you'd call it uncharted territory. American Fiction is an effective and on occasion emotionally fraught interpersonal dramedy, but it's mostly a satirical take on racial politics with a top-tier performance by Wright as the man in the middle and sterling support from Sterling K. Brown as his irresponsible brother, Sterling K. Brown from This Is Us, Tracy Ellis Ross as his passive-aggressive sister, and Leslie Uggams still getting it done as their mother, who's on the verge of dementia. So the impending firestorm that's going to result from certain revelations in the movie serves as a ticking clock, which might be uncommon in a film like this. And nonetheless, it works. Wright is as impressive as usual. And American Fiction makes Jefferson's points about stereotyping and the carousel of fame with what we'd call crackling wit and fearlessness. American Fiction is in theaters. I loved it.
Cool. I think we have time to squeeze in Zone of Interest.
Well, let's do so then. Oddly enough, the British submission for the Oscars Best Foreign Film Award is not in English. It's The Zone of Interest, a chilling and rightfully chilly juxtaposition of the mundane, albeit privileged family life and unspeakable evil of a concentration camp next door to where these people live. Director and co-screenwriter Jonathan Glazer has adapted the eponymous novel by Martin Amis, but the movie, The Zone of Interest, has I call it the fetid air of nonfiction in its depiction of Rudolf Höss and his family. So Höss is the SS officer serving as the commandant of the Auschwitz concentration camp.
Can I ding you? Can I ding you for fetid? I'll ding you for that.
If you want. His wife Hedwig, and their wholesome-looking family live their comfortable lives in a nicely appointed house next door to the camp with its ovens belching smoke and the occasional sound of gunfire. Occasionally the wails of the prisoners can doubtless be heard from behind the camp walls, even as the Huss family and their servants entertain guests in the garden by the house. The fact that the entire presentation is delivered in a dispassionate style, very matter of fact, just ratchets up the discomfort as you watch everyday activities in the shadow of true horror. So Christian Friedel and Sandra Huller as Rudolph and Hedwig are the embodiment of the phrase banality of evil as they go about their lives at home while a nightmare plays out next door. The Zone of Interest looks at the Holocaust from a different perspective, which doesn't lessen this terrible stain on history. It's not easy viewing, but I think it's essential, and another one of the best movies of the year. The Zone of Interest is in theaters, select theaters this weekend, and opening in other cities such as San Francisco within the next week or so, I think.
Am I pushing it if I try to squeeze in The Taste of Things?
I think you should squeeze it in because it's another of my favorite films of the year.
Squeeze. Let's get it in.
Okay, this is a beautiful, passion-infused, and appetite-sharpening mix of Belle Epoque period drama, love story, and foodie movie. I think you're going to really adore The Taste of Things, Kim. It's set in the Sylvan French countryside circa 1885 and features the incandescent Juliette Binoche as Eugenie, a blithe woman whose kitchen skills enhance the reputation of her boss, Dodin, who is a man considered one of the great chefs of the era. By the way, it's a French foodie movie, so I will refrain from making a joke about Juliette's brioche. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. Anyway, for two decades, Eugenie has worked as a cook under Dodin, who is played by the sturdy and studly Benoit Magimel. Their collaborative cuisine has made Dodin, and to a lesser extent, Eugenie, renowned. It's evident that they have deep feelings for one another, although Eugenie won't marry Dodin. So to woo her and get her to commit to their romance, he starts preparing exquisite meals for her, and we are party to the preparation and consumption of these glorious repasts. Binoche and Magimel, with their lovely chemistry, they're just like the perfect ingredients for this on-screen feast. And if you don't salivate and or tear up while watching The Taste of Things, there's no hope for you. It's the latest movie from award-winning French-Vietnamese filmmaker Tran Anh Hung, whose first big splash was with another mix of the gustatory and the romantic, 1993's The Scent of Green Papaya. Turbulent and dramatic and delectable, The Scent of Green Papaya caused a sensation at Cannes when it was released and won a César, the French Oscar, and received a foreign language nomination at the Academy Awards. The Taste of Things is just as delicious as Green Papaya, but warmer, more whimsical, and sweeter. I ate it up. In theaters. It's in theaters.
A quick recap. You say Maestro. You recommend it. You had problems with some of the structure, but you recommend. Wonka. You liked it. You thought it was worthwhile. American Fiction, you loved it. And also The Zone of Interest and The Taste of Things, two movies you say are two of the best movies of the year.
American Fiction, The Taste of Things, and The Zone of Interest are all in my top films of the year. And by the way, The Zone of Interest is it has subtitles. It's in German and largely, and The Taste of Things, of course, is in French, and they should be seen in the original languages with subtitles. All I can tell you is those are good films, Kim.
Those are some good movies. Well, Michael Snyder, our culture blaster, we adore you. As we head out, what do you think of the 49ers this weekend? Because I know you're going to give me your thoughts on the game, right?
I think it's potentially a trap game because they have just run through the Eagles and longtime rivals, the Seahawks. But they've got to come correct. And even though they have a lot of injuries on the defense, I do believe the 49ers almost unstoppable offense should be enough to push them to a victory. And I'm hoping that no one gets hurt and that they keep plowing forward because greater challenges await, like the Ravens on Christmas Day at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. What a game that's going to be. Don't look too far forward, though, you know.
Awesome. Michael Snyder, thank you for being here. I'll see you next Friday. Michael Snyder, he comes and goes on a rainbow. That's right.
Go Niners!
Snyder, bye!